I'd like to call the June meeting of the Lafayette City Council to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you. The clerk would conduct a roll call.
Heidi?
Here.
Clinker?
Here.
Myers? Reynolds?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Ollismeyer? Here. Williamson? Here. Downing?
Here.
Campbell?
Here.
Quorum present.
We would like to have a motion to recess the meeting for the purpose of a public hearing on the local highway usage tax. Mr. Downing. So moved. Second. Thank you. The meeting is now in recess for the conversations about the local highway usage tax. And this is open to the public. There being no comments, Mr. Downing?
I'll move, I can
Move to second it.
reconvene.
You're moving? I moved to go back to the meeting. Oh,
There we go.
putting this pressure on me. The clerk, make note that Mr. Downing moved and seconded. Mr. Brown? Second. Thank you.
Yeah.
Approval of the minutes of the May 6th meeting. Mr. Clinker.
I move we approve the minutes as communicated.
Mr. Heidi?
Second.
Any corrections to those minutes? On a voice vote, would everybody, if there is no dissent, everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Presentation and disposal of claims.
There are none.
Presentations of petitions and communications.
There are none.
Reports of city officers on file in the clerk's office.
Clerk's office, April. Waterworks Department, April. Fleet Maintenance Department, April. And Water Pollution Control Department, April.
All of those reports are available for your examination in the clerk's office at any time during business hours. Ordinances for second reading.
Ordinance 2013-10, an ordinance for appropriation of local highway user tax funds, county wheel tax fund number 249.
What is the pleasure? Mr. Brown?
Mr. President, I move that we hear and approve ordinance 2013-10 on second reading.
Williamson?
Second.
Discussion, any questions by members of the Common Council? Mayor?
Mr. President, the ordinance before you is our yearly ordinance for the appropriation of the local highway user tax fund, better known as the wheel tax. As you know, when we first started this, we made a commitment that each year we would bring this to the council in a separate ordinance format so it would be as transparent as possible where that money was being used. Last year, remember, we used the money to do North Street, and this year we will be using the money to do a significant portion of Union Street from all the way down as you come across the bridge from West Lafayette into Lafayette all the way up to Erie Street. That will, by all accounts, take all of the money for this particular year. It was brought to my attention there was some comments at caucus that I wasn't able to attend, so just want to reiterate, if by any chance, which would be a miracle, there is any money left over, then we would come back to the council with the streets that we might use to pave that, depending if there's 25,000 left over or 100,000, which is not going to happen. We'd probably, if there's a low amount, we'll just carry it over to next year, because the way the asphalt bids go, if you only get this many tons, then you pay this much per ton. If you order this many tons, then you only pay this much per ton, so it doesn't make sense. If it's too small of an amount, it's not a good use of the funds. It's better to roll it over. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that if there is enough that it makes sense to pave, somehow we will bring that back to the council to let you know. But please do not count on that, because this is a big project with a lot of work.
I would guess with the price of gasoline, which means the oil prices are high.
Well, thank goodness we bid the asphalt already before some of this came up, but yes. But the other part is, off the topic, but thank the council again for allowing us to participate in the fuel hedge fund, where we buy our fuel with other Indiana cities, and we hedge that through Maverick Energy, because we've gotten rebates back, I think, every month so far this year because of fuel prices. So again, thank you for your support of that and helping us.
Any questions of the mayor? There being none, any questions from the public about this particular allocation? There being none, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-10?
Heidi?
Aye.
Blinker?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Ordinance 2013-11.
An ordinance to amend ordinance 2012-20, an ordinance fixing the salaries of the appointed officers and employees of the City of Lafayette, Indiana for the year 2013, excluding the sworn protective occupation and law enforcement members of the police and fire department.
Mrs. Ellismeyer?
I move that we hear and approve ordinance 2013-11.
Mr. Klinker?
Second.
Any comments by members of the Common Council? There being none, gentlemen, would you identify yourselves?
Good evening. Patrick Flanley, Chief of Police, Lafayette Police Department. The position that we're looking to make a change to is the Senior Technology Specialist. We're looking to take a position that was filled by a sworn police officer. He filled that position for over 10 years. It was Technician Frank Schmidt. And when he retired, took a lot of institutional knowledge with him. He was a tremendous asset to our police department, helped us grow our technology in a lot of different ways. We came from computers, well, actually typewriters, to computers in our vehicles, connections wirelessly, where we've detached officers from desk and put them in the cars, and the cars essentially now are their offices, their mobile offices. It helps us to be very productive and very efficient in what we do. Our technology needs are growing, and despite our best efforts, it seems like we're always looking for the next thing. So we use this position, or this opportunity, when he retired, to take an overall look about how we were doing things, and we thought it would be the right time to bring in a technology specialist in, someone that has formal training and a formal background that might have some experiences from outside the eyes of the police department, that look at things from a different perspective, that could help us utilize technology more effectively. So that's what we were looking to do with this position, and with the help of the IT department and Andy Milam, we were able to do that. And
I think Chief Flannelly said it very well. I'm happy to answer any questions. Andy Milam, IT Director. We just feel like this is an opportunity to better collaborate and support the Lafayette Police Department and the Lafayette Fire Department.
Any questions by members of the Common Council? Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments by members of the audience? There being none, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-11?
Heidi?
Aye.
Blinker?
Aye.
Reynolds?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Allersmeyer?
Aye.
Williamson?
Aye.
Downing?
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinances for first reading.
Ordinance 2013-15, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance, Tippecanoe County, Indiana, to rezone certain real estate from R1A and I3 to GB, southwest corner of McCarty and Creasy Lane, Rossville Farm Realty.
What's the pleasure of the council? Ms. Williamson?
I move for passage of ordinance 2013-15 on first and final reading.
Yes, sir.
I second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments before we let this gentleman speak? There being none? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Members of the council, Dan Teeter, attorney of Riley, Teeter & Schreier, will represent the petitioners in this matter. There's Stan Midhofer and Dick Bennett. Stan's with us this evening. Would be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding this matter. Request to rezone to GB. It's about a 15-acre tract. It's at McCarty and Creasy Lane. We received a favorable staff recommendation. We received a 9 yes to 0 no vote from the Area Plan Commission as well for this matter. Most of the surrounding property, you're familiar with the area, I'm sure, but most of the surrounding property is Zone GB in that area. There is obviously some I-3 with Caterpillar, but other than that, it is all going to that GB zoning. On the Bennett site, there's a greenhouse, a retail center. There's 4 houses on there. One house is presently Zone GB. One's a caretaker home. There's 2 that are single-family homes. Over a period of time, Bennett's proposing to move his retail center up to this corner to get better visibility with it. And when he does that, obviously, the single-family homes will go away. I would suspect that also during that transitional period that he'll move some portion of the greenhouse maybe out to the country or out further away from that particular location. That's not going to happen today. That's something that's going to happen sometime in the future, but he's trying to get all his ducks in a row at this particular point. Bennett is a 6th-generation family-owned business as well, so I think that speaks highly of what we've got there, and hopefully he'll stay at that corner for a very long time. Mr. Mithofer's site, the reason for the rezoning there is to better reflect the current and future uses of his leasable space. Again, it's going from the I to the GB, so the type of people looking to lease that space are more GB-oriented office in front, maybe having some storage in back, but it works much better under the GB rezoning for that. Also, council at caucus brought up traffic. I see no increase in traffic occurring at this site because nothing's going to change for quite some time. Additionally, the roadways are capable of handling more traffic, and we got a pretty good automatic signal at that site, so I don't see any problems with that. I would respectfully request your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
In the future,
Yes.
the in and out of, if he moves his building up closer to the intersection, who determines where the driveways will go in and out of there? Will they be that much closer, or who determines that?
The city will definitely determine that, the engineers department, and he hasn't even come up with a plan yet for that. This is just
I understand
the
that,
first
but
stage
what
of
I'm
that.
saying is you got to look ahead, too.
Right, I understand that, and I think that's something that the engineer's office, there's warrants on that corner as to how close you can be. There may be just right in, right out as well to protect some of that, but the city has the opportunity to make those specific requirements.
On that, go ahead, Mr. Clinker.
You said there was a caretaker in one of the homes.
Uh-huh.
If this zoning is changed, can they stay there until the change is made as a grandfather?
The caretaker under the ordinance could stay automatically. Single-family homes would be non-conforming. Like I said, we already have one that's a GB and a GB, so it's non-conforming. The others would stay non-conforming. They understand that, and their goal is to eventually move and not have single-family at that site. Okay? Any other questions that I can answer? Thank you very much.
I guess, no, I don't have a question for you. I've got a question of the city engineer. What is the law from the standpoint of the corner of an intersection where a curb cut could be made?
Jenny Leschny, city engineer. Typically, we look at the functional area of the intersection, so it can't be any closer than any turn lanes would be or cause any impairment to the operation of that intersection. So typically, you're 300 to 500 feet back, depending on which side you put your entrances on for that particular intersection. I would think on the Creasy Lane side, it wouldn't be a full access because you couldn't turn left from that corner lot without impeding the functional area of that intersection. So we look at all of that and the flow of the traffic on their site once they determine their parking, how they want to pull in, how they want to pull out.
Good. Satisfaction. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Nelson.
When this was brought up, I think there's already 2 entrances already assigned to one both on Creasy and one on McCarty. Can those still stay?
They would not stay
Okay.
if the site is changed and the traffic pattern changes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? of the city engineer. Members of the audience wish to address this particular ordinance. There being none, would the clerk then conduct a roll call vote on ordinance 2013-15?
Heidi,
Aye.
Blinker.
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You may be excused. Resolutions for first and final reading.
Resolution 2013-10, a resolution authorizing payment of claims through electronic transfer.
Pleasure of the council.
Mr. President, I move that we hear and approve Resolution 2013-10.
Second.
You. Any questions or comments by members of the council before we start? Yes, sir.
Mr. President, Mike Jones, Controller. The resolution you have before you would allow the city to process payments to our vendors via an electronic transfer. Many of our vendors have increasingly asked us to become paperless and process these electronically, much the same as we ask our citizens to process electronically as much as possible with our utilities. State law has changed to allow these transfers, and this resolution satisfies State Board of Accounts regulations that would allow us to proceed. This does not change in any way the process where we properly appropriate funds. All those checks and balances are still in place. It's just at the end of it, instead of writing a check, we transfer electronically.
Any questions of Mr. Jones?
Thank you.
Members of the audience wish to address this concept of no comment? Roll call. 15.
Heidi,
Aye.
Clinker,
Aye.
Reynolds,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Allersmeyer.
Aye.
Williamson.
Aye.
Downey.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. What is our... Oh, wait a minute, I take that back. There it is. Reports of standing committees. Mayor. The new business. I'm assuming that is the new business, is the 2013 compliance statement of benefits for tax abatements by various industries. Mr. Carson.
Good evening. Dennis Carson, Economic Development Director for the City of Lafayette. We've got tax abatements before you tonight. These were compiled and coordinated from the staff of Greater Lafayette Commerce. They were reviewed by myself and my staff of the Economic Development Department, and then further reviewed with a recommendation from the Lafayette Redevelopment Commission, who found them all in substantial compliance. So with that, we can go through these one by one and vote on them. So if you're ready to go, I do.
By the State Board of Accounts, if I'm not mistaken. And
I would do is just read each Caterpillar personal property. Dennis can say what their recommendation is, that they're in compliance, and then the council could, I think you can do a voice vote unless you have.
Okay.
Carson, go.
All right. The first one is Caterpillar, which was a personal property abatement for 10 years on equipment. They met their their equipment investment at 188%, and they also met their job creation and job retention goals. So they were recommended from the Redevelopment Commission as being in compliance.
And what is the pleasure of the council? Well, we'll just assume that it is a positive vote, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Caterpillar passes. Yes, sir.
Okay, next one is Coleman Cable. It's a real estate abatement, 10 years. They met their investment at 102%, and they also met their job creation and retention goals. The commission found them in substantial compliance.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Coleman Cable had a second abatement of personal property, which was a 7-year abatement. They met their investment requirement at 107% and met their job retention and creation goals, and the commission found them in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Next one is the Historic Jeff Center. This one is actually for a housing tax abatement to encourage affordable housing for seniors. This was a 10-year abatement on real estate. They met their investment goal at 181%, and they met their job creation goal as well. They were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you.
Next one.
JAK, according to this.
Yes. Which is JAK Partners, which is Kirby Risk. This was a 10-year abatement on real estate. They met their investment at 121%, and they met their job creation and retention goals as well. They were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor of JAK signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
They have a second one, which was a real estate abatement of 10 years. They met their real estate investment at 109%. At this time, they have not met their job creation and retention goals, but this one was just granted last year, so they were only 1 year into the abatement. So they were found substantial compliance by the commission.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Next is Lifesong Properties, which is a 10-year real estate abatement. They made 100% of their investment, and they made their job retention and creation goals. They were found in substantial compliance. And I'll just note that this one has actually originated in the county, but now it's inside the city because of annexation.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
The same company had a second one, Lifesong Brands Incorporated, a 10-year abatement on equipment. They met 100% of their goals, and they met their job creation goals as well. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Next is Liquid Spring, which was a 7-year equipment abatement. They made 97% of their investment, and they made their job retention and creation goals. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Next is Nanshan America, a real estate abatement for 10 years. They made 138% of their investment goal, and they made their job creation goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor of Nanshan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
They have a second abatement at 10 years for equipment. Right now they are at 3% of their investment, but they have met their job creation goals. Again, this was just granted 2 years ago. They're bringing more equipment online as the project progresses, and we fully expect them to meet and exceed their goal. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Next is Oscar Lewinsky Company. It was a real estate abatement for 10 years. They made their investment goal at 106%, and they made their job creation goals. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, next we have Subaru, which we have a total of 13 compliances here. The first one is for 10 years. They met their real estate.
Could you identify the year it was
Sure.
granted?
This one is SIA 2000, granted in the year 2000. Real estate abatement for 10 years. They met their real estate investment at 275%, and they met their job creation and retention goals. They're found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Next is SIA 2006, real estate abatement, 10 years. They made their investment goal at 386%, and they made their job retention goals and pledge, so they were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Next is SIA 2007, real estate abatement, 10 years. They made their investment goal at 235%, and they made their job creation pledge. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
Next is SIA 2009, 10-year real estate abatement. They made their investment goal at 479%, and they made their job retention goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
SIA 2012, they made they're at 47% of their investments, and they are down a little bit on their job retention. Again, this one was just granted last year. We fully expect them to make their goals as well. They were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
And SIA 2000, this is an equipment abatement for 10 years. They made 84% of that investment, and they made their job retention goals, so they were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
SIA 2005, 10-year equipment abatement, made 13% of their investment, but they exceeded their job retention goals. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
SIA 2004, equipment abatement of 10 years. They made 73% of their investment, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
SIA 2006, 10-year abatement on equipment. They made 100% of their investment, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
SIA
Getting a little weaker out there, folks.
Think about me. Okay, SIA 2007 is 10-year equipment abatement, made 106% of their investment, and they exceeded their job retention goals. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. That's fair. Opposed, the same sign.
Okay, SIA 2009, a 10-year abatement on equipment. They made 204% of their investment goal, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign. Thank you.
SIA 2011, 7-year equipment abatement. They made 241% of their investment goal, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
And our last SIA, which was a 2012, just granted last year. Right now they're at 12% of their investment goal, and they had not quite made their retention goal, but again, we fully expect them to do that over the course of this abatement. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Tate and Lyle.
Want a break?
Intermission, next is Tate and Lyle. They have two. Their first is a real estate abatement for 10 years. They exceeded their investment goal at 329%, and they met their job retention and creation goals. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
Second Tate and Lyle one here is for equipment for a 6-year abatement. They met their investment goal 101% and met their job creation and retention goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the same sign.
Next is Toyota Motor. They had 2 abatements. The first one is for 10 years on equipment. They met 91% of their investment goal, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
The second Toyota Motors for 10 years on equipment. They made 97% of their investment goal, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign.
Next, we have 4 from Wabash National. The first one is a 10-year abatement on real estate. They made 47% of their investment goal, and they exceeded their job retention goal. They were found substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign.
Next is Wabash National 2008. It was an equipment abatement of 10 years. They made 77% of their investment goal and exceeded their job retention goal. They were found in substantial compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Wabash National 2011, the 10-year abatement on equipment. They exceeded their investment at 113% and exceeded their job creation goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Wabash National 2012, this is a 7-year abatement on equipment. They are 93% of their investment, and they have met their job creation goal. They were found in compliance.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Okay, in the home stretch here.
For those members of the audience who sat through all that, this is the reason we are voting on each one of those. It's the State Board of Accounts says that whenever monies are dispersed or there's a question of benefits and things of that sort, that we must have an individual vote on every one of those issues. And then if the clerk would then make note of the fact that all of those were voted on by a voice vote, I'm sure the State Board of Accounts will just be tickled.
Okay, yeah,
Go
one
ahead,
more to
you're
go.
on a real roll. Tom.
We are. Next is Castle Cook, which is Warehouse of Lafayette. This was a 10-year abatement on real estate. They exceeded their investment 102%. They have not yet made their job creation goals. This was a warehouse that was a spec warehouse built to attract tenants to it. They built this right before the economy took a big change back in the mid-2000s. We do have representatives here from the company that explain their situation. I will also add, and I'm sure he'll add as well too, that they have recently attracted a company who's a Tier 1 supplier to Wabash National, so they're on their way to finding tenants and creating those jobs. But
I think we would like to hear from that particular organization, if you would.
Good evening. I'm Mark Castell, President of Warehouse Lafayette and Managing Member of Castle Coke Development. My apologies for not being at the caucus Wednesday night. I was unable to attend. However, I'm here tonight to answer any questions you might have. I think Dennis kind of set the table a little bit, gave you a little bit of background for those of you who weren't familiar with the project. We were granted this abatement in 2007 and finished Phase 1, 150,000 square feet of a 300,000 square foot two-phase building. And as Dennis also mentioned, recently we were able to put one tenant in the building on a long-term basis. We have another tenant in the building on a short-term basis that is using it for some overflow material. The timing of this project was not the way we had envisioned it, but on the upside, I think this tenant is probably the type of thing that we did envision happening. They were previously located in Chicago, closed their warehouse operation in the suburb of Chicago and moved it to Lafayette to better serve their customer. They're actively pursuing other customers, but they're also negotiating with their current customer here to provide additional services. And as they do that, they will need more space and more people. So as a startup operation, 2 people was what they needed to begin the operation. It's their vision to have quite a few more people and a lot more business in the building. So I think it was a very compatible fit for the building, and it leaves us a approximately 100,000 square foot footprint in the building that we're obviously actively marketing on a local, regional, and national basis.
Any questions of this gentleman? Seeing none, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Rosworski.
briefly, I've mentioned this before, but I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't, that this spec building, is built out in our state certified shovel-ready industrial site. And when we were talking about this originally, we encouraged this building to be developed because we were trying to draw attention to that area. We could put in the utilities we were trying to create. It was a risk at that time to build a spec building. We were very appreciative that they were willing to take that risk. At that time, unfortunately, the economy collapsed at that time. And then I feel a little bad, not real bad, but a little bit bad that, of course, we got Nanshan out there, $161 million. We have Shigeru right beside their building. So what we did worked. I mean, we have $200 million worth of investment out there now. Unfortunately, it didn't go into their building directly, but the city encouraged them to put that building up to help draw attention, which it worked, to that area. So, really, they did a good thing trying to help us out. And unfortunately for them, it's been sitting empty for a while. So I would appreciate everybody's support on this.
In a presentation, you make a decision on whether.
I just have one question, and you may have said something. I don't know where he went. Since you've gotten this new client and since you submitted the paperwork, have you created any additional jobs to what was submitted on the paperwork? Okay. I just wanted to check. Okay. Thank you.
I believe that this company was willing to stand up and spend their money here in Lafayette. I think we need to invest in.
By saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you.
Next, we have Benton MGM LLC doing business as McKinney Corp. This was a 10-year real estate abatement. They made 129% in their investment. They have been unable to meet their job retention or creation goals, and we do have a representative from the company here tonight that can address it.
Good. I hear that.
Dennis, before you get away, also, didn't that come from the county also? I see the asterisk there, but there's no asterisk next to them.
Yes, this one originated, was approved by the county council, and then through annexation, the compliance has now come here to our council.
Be an asterisk, but that one too with life song.
Sure.
Yeah. Good.
Evening, Council, President. I'm Murphy McKinney, President of McKinney Corp. And when the economy did take its downturn in 08 or 09, we got hit pretty hard. We were probably 95% motorsports at that time when we came to town and built the building, and 5% commercial. So we had to reinvent our business model to stay afloat and be profitable. So we have diversified, and that diversification has come from doing commercial work with other businesses here in Lafayette. Had we not been in Lafayette, I don't think that would have even been a feasible plan. Today we're about 70% motorsports, 30% commercial, and we get tremendous support from many of the local businesses here in town. And although we haven't, I'd like to point out, although we haven't met our job numbers as of yet, we did add 6 jobs in the last year. And our actual payroll from when we initially wrote the abatement is $8,000 higher than what the abatement was initially written. So we have a very good group of individuals that work for us, and they've all worked very hard along with us to help turn this around. And we've been profitable the last 2 years. This year's ahead of last year, so we think that we're on the right track. We appreciate your support.
Are there a lot less cars in those teams, in those NASCAR teams, and those nationwide the day before?
Several things have happened. One is they're doing more with less because, as everybody, they're getting less money. A lot of teams started building in-house, which on the surface looks like that's bad for us, but it's really been a blessing because they still buy a lot of their components from us, and when they buy it a part at a time, our margins are better, and we can do it with less people. So it's really helped our bottom line, but it hurts us on the hiring side.
I just wondered, because I know IMS for the first time is, taking public money, and so I just wondered if all those teams, if we're seeing that in all motorsports, I mean, all teams have less cars, less...
All of motorsports has the same problem, and it's going to be a long time before it was like it used to be. They used to call and say, how much is something, and you tell them, and they say, we'll take 5. Now they want, you tell them how much it is, and they'll say, we'll call you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in all motorsports, NASCAR, IndyCar, drag racing, the attendance is also down. So all the tracks are struggling because we're all vying for the same entertainment dollar, and there's so many things to do now that they're all struggling. I think we've seen that with down at IMS. That's part of their problem.
So then, right now, you have how many employees, and they all have full benefits, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 19.
19 with full benefits. Good.
Donnie, you're quite a fan of this racing. Do you have any comments?
It continues very well.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
All those in favor of passage for its continuation? Aye?
Aye.
Those in opposition, the same sign.
Okay, the last two are from Ray Magnet Wire. They're both personal property abatements. The first one is a 10-year abatement on equipment, and they made 197% of their goal. They have not met their job retention or recreation goals as of yet. And the second one, just outline that quickly for you, was granted just... Right, we can vote on one at a time, but I'll let the representative come up here and address both of them. The second one was granted just last year, a 7-year equipment abatement, and right now they're at 24% of that investment goal. And again, they have not yet made their job creation or retention goals, but we have a representative here from the company that can address both of these.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. My name is Bert Bovender. I'm the plant manager for Ray Magnet Wire in Lafayette. If you don't know a little bit, Ray Magnet Wire is based out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We happen to have a facility here in Lafayette that started in 1959. So I'll speak a little bit to the first abatement, 2003, and then talk a little bit about the 2012 as well. Back in 2003, when we first granted the abatement, a lot of different economic conditions at that time, but a lot has changed for Ray Magnet Wire since that time to support Lafayette in general. We closed the Las Cruces, Arizona facility, New Mexico facility, moved all those that equipment here. We did disperse some to Monterey, but the majority of it did come into Lafayette. Also in that time, we did take a facility that in Pontiac Street off in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We brought that equipment here as well as a lot of key components of that product line for Magnet Wire. So we've continued to focus as well as reinvest into Lafayette based upon that first abatement. 2 times since that abatement was granted to us, we have hit those targets, but we've been unable to sustain. And in 2007, we were unable to sustain those, and we're at our current level at 221 versus the 242 we've been there. However, we have exceeded our estimated salaries by $1.8 million based upon that abatement. On the second one I'll speak to, we're only 4 off of that one where we wanted 225. We're now at 221. We did exceed those salaries by $2.5 million based upon that abatement. But we've continued to invest in Lafayette. And I'll give you an example. In 2012, we invested $2.8 million in equipment and services into Lafayette. In 2013, we're planning to invest about $3.7 million in equipment and service in Lafayette. Those things that we've invested, some of the things we've been able to return to communities and using the local suppliers that we use to put that equipment in, although it's not turned into jobs yet, has been one for Kelly Services. We've spent almost $500,000 actually over $500,000, $555,000 locally that goes back into this economy and to employees of Kelly Services. Frucci, which is based out of Fort Wayne, but uses local, we spent about $8,000. L&H, which is ongoing, which supplies us different things to run our operation, almost $250,000. And Kirby Motor Supply, $337,000. The equipment we invest here may at this point not be turning into jobs that we actually wanted, but definitely it's converting into something for the community that we hope can transpire and eventually get us to those targets that we would like. Questions about Ray? Thank you.
All those in favor of continuation of this statement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Two of them. Right. Two of them, right?
Better do it one at a time.
Yeah, 2003 was your one you just voted
That's one
on,
we just
then
voted
you have
on.
2012.
Yeah.
Let's take care of 2003.
Okay.
All those in favor of that abatement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Now 2012. I can go over that one again, yes. And that was abatement that was granted last year for equipment, 7 years. Again, they're at 24%, and as the gentleman pointed out, they haven't quite yet made their goals, but they're on track.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That's it.
Thank you.
Complete.
Unless you want to continue.
No, I'm done.
Public comment. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
reports of councilmen were there, so I wanted to jump in before we got to public comment. All right, thank you. A couple of meetings ago, I mentioned that the Heroes campaign was starting for the Red Cross, and I was the chair of that campaign and asked for the community's generosity, and they came through in flying colors. We exceeded our goal, and also wanted to mention that this Friday, the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department is having their annual fish fry at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds. I think it's an all-you-can-eat fish meal, and the Sheriff's Department does that to benefit the Red Cross, and that we come out and rehab them with coffee and food during long fire events and things like that. So that is this Friday at 5 o'clock, June 7th. Thank you.
Can Mr. Heidi get something to take home to his wife?
Probably can.
Good.
$8.
Public comment.
Good morning, Perry Bobby, 3700 Redbud. First, I want to thank everybody that helped in this past weekend's clean sweep thing. I think I heard there was a pretty good turnout for the bad weather we had. Although I wasn't able to do it this weekend because I was had to work as a commitment. I want to thank the street department or whoever is responsible to finish repaving the sidewalk in front of my residence. Where we had that water main broke on the day after Christmas. They got around to fixing it because they couldn't do it when the bad weather was out, so I appreciate their hard work on getting that done this past week and a half ago. And we talk about safety and everything in mind, and when we talk about apartment buildings, and I let me first say don't know how we can do this, but I think we should try to encourage apartments that have, for there won't be a crime, to have gates where they have individual gates where they have to have key codes to get into them. Maybe that would solve the crime that we have in apartment buildings. I know that's a cost there, and I don't like to put government into telling how businesses to run their business, but with that said, we got to do something with this crime.
Dan,
Look,
you mean just government buildings should have
apartments.
carpet?
Apartments.
Oh, I see.
The only ones that I don't want to say any names. The ones that you see in the headlines week after week, month after month. They should have gates where you and I can't go into there if we don't belong to that apartment building. we had to swipe like we do at a place of appointment to get into the gate. Yes, it's going to cost the places money, but it's going to make the residents more safer and the community around them safer. I know there's nothing on the books, but there has to be something that we can talk to those people about, at least encourage them to do it. You know, I don't want to have where we hound them for the first to do it, but there's a lot of residents in those places is scared to death, and I don't want to hear that.
Gated communities.
Just the ones that's the high risk ones, as we would call it. And again, I know we don't want to, but they're putting a bad mark on our community, though, at the same time. But are they discriminating against our community, though, in a way? Yeah. I know this is a tough situation, but we have to do. So somehow we should be able to do something. At least talk to these apartment complexes.
Do that.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. I know they do. There's no doubt. We got some good law enforcement out there. There's no doubt in my mind. Yep.
Comments by members of the audience.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.